Okay, this we have.
I started writing.
Okay. Did something uploaded in Google Drive? Okay. Moving a little slow this morning.
I have a question about it. They have to vote, but I found this information in this one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that they have in the program.
Okay.
But it doesn't have like the year or the author.
Okay. There's no year.
No, it's not my year. There's no authors.
The authors. Let's see. No year anywhere on the document. Not at the end of the document.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I mean, if there's no date so I would just start with the title and the references. Start with the title of the document and then put no year.
No
And
author. Or it's just like the
well,
title.
yeah, just put the title, and if you get it online, just put retrieved from.
Okay.
And I would put, in this case, I would put retrieved on and then a date somewhere around this time, and retrieved on May whatever from, and then the that's where there's no dates. Oh, here we go. 2016. No, that's the reference. Okay, well, there's no date. There's no date. How about the website where you retrieved it from? The date from that website?
No, it's just like it opens a link. But
There's no.
it's always
Okay. just leave the date off. Just put no date, and then just put retrieved from. In fact, let's take a look at that. Up your document here. Do you have the link in your references?
No.
Okay. What's the? Is it a long URL?
You have to go to yeah.go.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.gov.mx.
IEA or
IEA.
.gov.mx? Yeah, go. Ah.
Right.
Okay.
And then from there you go to intranet. Intranet. It's free.
Okay.
And then right there, you put the username. That one is progress.
Okay, is this confidential information?
No, I think anyone can log in. Anyone who's working on stuff.
All right. Maybe not. Maybe just write down the password and not say it out loud since we're recording.
Oh, but it's the same for everyone.
It's the same for everybody, no matter who.
Okay. Inside.
Progress, and the password is.
Start. Yeah, everybody. It's the same.
Okay.
And
Open for anyone.
yeah.
Okay.
And you go down. I'm sorry. You click on the start program. It says English. Programas of English on the left.
On the right?
On the right, I'm sorry.
English
And
start.
then start, yeah.
Okay.
And then that's where I found it. You scroll down.
Okay, so this is units.
Right. And it's like Fundación Curricular, and it's in English and in Spanish. That's it.
Okay. So this is curricular foundation.
Can I wrap this up?
Okay. Alright. So this. Okay, okay.
Están en la bolsa que ven ahí, en la bolsa de afuera, es una llave con un papelito de ese maestro.
Okay.
Sí, esa es una llave.
Alright. So let's just do this. Put the at the beginning reference. So National English Program and Basic Education. Second, and then I would just put it just simply for this title: National English Program and Basic Education, and then no date. Retrieved on May 6th from this URL.
Okay.
That takes you directly to the PDF, and we'll just leave it like that. That's where there's no date. It's not even really a date on the website. Do you know who wrote it? Like it doesn't really say much of anything.
No.
Right. So let's look at your page here. Any questions about the organization?
No, but so do I just mention like in the first sentence? I mentioned this status. Or like how is
Okay.
I do that?
Yeah. So the requirements of the teacher. So you're breaking this down. Requirements of the teacher. Type. Or maybe types of reflections. Reasons. Okay. So requirements of the teacher. Okay. So you might say something like, according to the National English Program of Basic Education, and then you could put in parentheses dates, because it would be kind of it's a citation, but you don't have a date. But put that. English teachers need to do this. Whatever they could stipulate there, talk about what what it is you want to talk about. They should respect your regard to your study. So yeah, just make sure you differentiate, I think, between the lesson plan, if you want to start with the lesson plan, that's fine, or maybe start with the program first, and then throw in the lesson plan to get more specific, maybe. But, I mean, the lesson plan is kind of related to the overall National English program, but there might be some things you talk about that come strictly or straight from the program itself and the lesson plan. So I would kind of treat them differently, even though the lesson plan is probably part of a subset of the program. Yeah, so there's. So the objective. Now, do you talk about the English program in your literature review at all?
No.
So I wonder if you should mention it a little bit someplace in your literature review.
I talk about objectives.
Okay, so in your literature review, you don't mention anything about the lesson plan according to the
Oh, to the national, to this one.
to the plan? No. Okay.
Because like that wasn't like my actual purpose. I just wanted to know
Yeah.
some things, but no.
Okay. So. Okay, make sure, be careful with your, I think change fonts here, make sure, just be careful there. You have smaller font here. Okay. So in the first paragraph, you're talking about the lesson plan, you're talking about the program itself, you're talking about your interview on the academic coordinator. Now, when you start, like, when you say that the academic coordinator interview, they summarize the actual language features and attitudes of value. I would always, and this kind of goes in general, when you start triangulating the information, let's see here. So in this first paragraph, you're just presenting the results, and then the second paragraph, you're going to discuss them?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's the objectives and lesson? Each class teachers pay attention to a number of objectives and cannot focus on all of them. All right. When you discuss your results, I see what you're doing here. I would suggest that you talk very specifically about what the evidence that you just presented. So, for example, say something like the academic coordinator mentioned this, and it's in conjunction with, or it's according to the program, like really connected to how it's for the reader. Like say they said this, and the program says this, and it links, or it doesn't link, or it's a variation, or.
However, the oscillation is not.
Exactly.
It's not taking place.
Exactly. So it's more like putting the pieces together and you connecting very specifically. And then if you want, that could lead into a more broader interpretation, which I feel that you're doing in the second paragraph right now. That's fine what you're doing there, but first kind of dig in and be very, very specific. And you could you could even say that in the analysis, even though you don't have to go into great discussion. You can just say the program says this, the coordinator replied this way, which is a little bit different than what was said here, but you just move on. You're maybe in the analyzed paragraph, you can connect those dots as you're presenting the results, and then lead in here based on what you just said there, kind of interpret it more. So even though you're saying you're comparing and contrasting, you're not so much giving your interpretation at that moment. You're just saying that it's different. It's different or it's the same, or and then you go, okay, because there seems to be a difference in what, for example, what the coordinator, the interpretation of the coordinator based on. See what I mean? So, and this is a good example to apply to anything that you talk about. So, try to make it very, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Just kind of lay it out. Think in terms of somebody reading this, and you just really outline very clearly, plainly. Are there any differences, or is it all the same? And I think you can do that a little bit more, maybe in this first paragraph, as maybe you say something like, the lesson plan is broken down into this, and this is based on what it says in the program, okay? And then the coordinator responded this way, and kind of go just a little bit deeper into the analysis. Typically, I recommend I would avoid the there's, there are for the topic sentence. So instead here, say something about the specific format that all teachers must follow. Like make a claim. Say something in general about it. Is there a deviation? Or just say something about it. And then go into detail below. This format has been... Okay, so you have an image below?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If you have several images or tables or whatever they're graphs, whatever you call it, you can number them. So you can say, see image 1, or see table 1, or see graph 1. If you have various...
I can include this one. That's what I was studying.
How big is that page?
Well, I can...
Or are you just showing this?
Yeah.
No, if you can... the problem is it's landscape.
I can probably take like an image.
Okay.
Use it as an image.
Okay. Yeah.
Copy the screen and then make it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. As long as it's legible, and you can keep the heading.
Okay.
Okay, so this format here, the classes. Is there a time frame on the format?
No, where is it?
Okay.
I was gonna include, because he gave me a picture of like the ideal lesson time, and I was gonna include the time, but I think you can change the time, so
Okay.
it's not something that's like established.
Okay, I'm wondering if that would be better as a kind of ideal, because that's evidence that he gave you that you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. You still have the format here, but it's an example, and it's something that the coordinator gave you. And then I'm thinking, instead of outlining all of this in this text here, an image with a couple of notes, this section, X amount of minutes, just as a guide, and that would free up some text so that you can talk more specifically about other things. I mean, you can say something very brief about it, but with the image, it'll be clear that, okay, this is the format, and I think we can eliminate some of these like words that you're having to kind of go in a lot of detail where you can spend. Like the image. I think so. Yeah, because you see the first. And then you can go into your observations. So you can talk more about your observations, about what you observed, versus the classes are 15 minutes. Then it's followed by presentation, includes language questions after the because this is not an observation, right? This is just right. But then when you say during the observations of the hours, then you can talk about that. Okay. But and this image that I'm thinking would give you even more information without you having to explain it all. It would be more informative, I think. And you could say in here that this is only a sample. This is only an example. The teachers or the coordinator mentioned that, you know, that they could deviate from whatever. So you can actually then talk about what the coordinator said instead of having to explain the instrument. Yeah. First teacher was observed. Second teacher completed the first of the three. All right, so in this case, in this paragraph, you want to compare, are you planning on, you're presenting results from the two teachers. I'm wondering if you do a side-by-side table with each teacher and what they completed and what they didn't complete, and then talk about the table, talk about the highlights, to see anytime that you can, it would make it easier to understand kind of the comparison. You know, feel free to use tables, and you're going to discuss it, but it's going to be only the important parts. Notice in this table where teacher A consistently did not reach the application, where teacher B did, whatever the analysis is. So you're actually talking about the results and the analysis of it without all the nitty gritty, you know, all the details. See what I mean? Because what you don't, and it's a fine balance. It's like try to think of like what's the easiest way to really understand what is the most important thing about it. Is really kind of what I'm trying to say is is it more important to talk about all the details or just the most important interesting parts? I mean, what was interesting about those two and how they did or did not complete the lesson plan or any deviation, right? And maybe you do a couple of side-by-sides only talking about small chunks of differences as you go through. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. In the first section, I mean, I'm talking about deviation, which probably goes to the third section, but the requirements here, maybe you just put, these are the requirements both teachers had. And they had this product, teacher A had this type of product, this teacher had this type of product, and they had X amount of weeks, and then you do a table kind of to illustrate that. And so, not completing a stage so frequently must raise concerns. All All right, so you're talking about here not completing a stage, and I wonder if that would be better in the deviation section.
Oh, okay.
What do you think? In this on page, I'm not sure what page this is. In this paragraph, it says not completing the stage so frequently ultimately must raise concerns. These classes observed only one of the lesson plan was completed. I'm wondering if that would be better in the deviation,
Reasons deviate.
or because here the topic here, according to the heading, is the requirements. So I understand this to mean you outline the requirements of the program, and then maybe the requirements that the objectives the teacher had, and kind of outline that, but not so much talk about deviation yet until you get, I don't know, until you get to that section. What do you think?
So I can.
And, you know, maybe this first section is rather short. Maybe this is a little bit shorter than you thought before, which is fine. You start with just kind of the general requirements, objectives, and I would assume objectives is part of this. Maybe you might put, you know, objectives or the published English program objectives, and talk about the objectives of the program, the objectives based on what the coordinator said, that you observed, and the objectives of each lesson plan. And then you go on to the next section, types of reflections, and then probably reasons to deviate. You might have a lot. That's kind of like the biggest, most important.
Like the comparison chart, which is day one completed.
Right. And think about what you saw, what you observed, like any interviews that you had, kind of mix it and that information along with that chart. And you know, maybe you have several side-by-side comparisons like I mentioned before, not one chart that has everything, but you have small charts just talking, you know, bit by bit of, you know, comparison we want to talk about. Instill with the types of reflections. You know, you might also be, I look at this as kind of a comparison between the two teachers throughout. You know? So if you see any differences between the two with regard to their reflection practices, you might do it first. I didn't obviously talk about chart build paragraphs just as you're doing, but maybe you're talking more about the actual analysis, actually talking about those differences, those results. But I mean, this is the idea here. How many words do you have? All right, a couple of things. So here you're saying the reasons deviate. So I guess the question is, when do you want to talk about the actual deviation? So these are reasons to deviate. Types of reflection. You know what I mean? Like, when do you want? One thing is to say, okay, now they're deviating from the lesson plan. Another thing is to explain why. Do you feel that you have enough information to have one section to talk about the why of the deviation? Because we also have the what, and we have to talk about the what first, and then, or the what and the how first, and then the why probably. Okay. So when, you know, you have to decide when to introduce the what, like the actual deviation itself. If you want to do that, or are you doing that throughout?
So, or I can put like reasons to deviate first, and then like when teachers decide
Yeah.
or like
So.
switch the categories.
Let's see. All right. In this section, requirements for the teachers. Maybe you because you're already kind of doing that already. Maybe modify the heading to talk about the actual deviations. And because to do that, you have to also talk about the objectives, obviously. So maybe that first section is more about the deviations, with the understanding that you are talking first about what are the objectives. So we need to know what the plan is and then how they deviated. So you put that into one section, perhaps, and maybe just modify this heading to mean just the deviations, not to explain why, but just what the deviations are. Because you do that, you're doing that kind of already. You mentioned here, not completing this stage, you're talking about the deviations already.
Okay.
It really depends on how much information, how much you want to talk about each thing here. So, I look at this as the types of information you have. You have objectives. When I say objectives, I mean program, lesson plan, teachers, the whole, all the data sources. Then we have the deviation. We have the deviations. Just talking about the what, the actual deviation itself. And maybe the what, maybe the how. How do they deviate? Okay. And then we have types of reflections. And then we have deviations. And this is the current order that you have right now. And this is the why. Now, you need to decide first what main sections. How do you want to divide this information up into, I would say probably 3 sections, maybe 2 sections. Okay. And also look at this again and see what order, what's the best order. Would it make more sense to talk first about the reflections or talk about the objectives? This is kind of what you need to look at and say, okay, what is the order, and then what are the 2 or 3 sections, maybe 4 sections that you want to have. Probably 4 might be. Let's see, what's 2,500 words divided by 4? 700. So it's pretty. It's not going to leave a lot of room for a section. So I wouldn't probably go more than 3 sections. So
I can just like say with like the first like with the requirements, and since here I'm talking about like the format, I can include it like format and like the types of reflection.
the formats for, sorry, what the.
Yeah, for this one, I can include these 2 together.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
All right. So the objectives for one section.
Right.
So, and then deviations and the types of reflections.
And just.
Okay.
3.
All right. Now you might have, if you want, maybe 1, or in this case 2 subheadings. What is this? If it makes sense, because they're related, I think related, but these are different. So if you feel you need 2 subheadings, that's fine. Level 3 heading, talking about deviations, and then another types of reflections. But you'll have to give this a title, some sort of heading. So we have objectives, and again, this will all depend on how much you feel comfortable talking about each one of these 3. Right? If you have more or less the same information, amount of information you want to talk about. In each of these three sections, obviously, like we talked about before, results and discussion, triangulating the data sources and so on. So objectives, and then deviations, and then you're going to start these types of reflections. Now, do the types of reflections relate more to the why they deviated, or does it relate more to what they deviated from? And I don't know. You know this better than I. But if it relates more to what, fine, leave it there. Um, or are there parts of this that relate to both? Because you could also just have one section for objectives, one section for deviations, the what, with reflections at the end, some sort of discussion about reflections at the end, and talk about the why with some talk about reflections at the end. If there's a link between the what and the why with regard to reflections. It all depends on what you have. If you say, no, there's really not much on the why, okay, then focus on the what only. Maybe that's another option. I just want you to think about how it's going to be logical, so that you're not putting it in a place where it might be better off somewhere else, type of thing. Right. So just think about that, and think about using. I think you were thinking about using more tables, but you just haven't inserted them. But just think about that, and perhaps having a few side-by-side comparisons between the two teachers. Um, and yeah.
Okay.
Does that help? Does that make sense? Do you have any other doubts about what goes where, or?
Not yet.
Not yet, all right.
Okay, so I'll do that today and fully finish this.
Okay. Remember to that. Let's see here. So you. Okay. Do you have any questions about page breaks? Um,
Yeah, it says, oh, like, start a new page? Or?
Yeah, so here you go up to insert and page break here, or control enter on your PC. And this will automatically insert a page break. So each appendix should have a page like this. I think this is a page break.
Okay.
And let's see, what was I asking here? Okay, I think you added this, right? Teacher question.
I guess so. Sounds.
So you can delete my comment there. So just double check my comments here.
It says add a heading, like what kind of heading?
Did you add?
No, that was my question. Because I put observation sheet, that would be the heading.
Okay, this is okay, I think.
Because that's like the way I have it.
Okay. No, I think this is okay. Sorry to me. I don't know what I was thinking about there. Yeah, no, that's fine. This is fine here. Just remember also to add your codes. And mention your codes in your section. Here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think this is coming along. You have 1,000 words, you said?
Yeah.
Approximately?
Mm-hmm.
1400. So we're kind of along here. Yeah. So just final comment would be just to kind of dig a little bit more, making those connections between data sources. Right. Mhm.
So if I
So-
add the chart, I can delete the information.
You can, yeah, and some of it, not all of it, but I think you can. It'll free you up to talk about more about the actual chart, the most important aspects of the chart. So the goal here is to weed through all this information and talk about the most important stuff, right? The most important information. So I'm hoping that if you put it up charts, that will free up some of the text that you have right now that you're explaining the chart. Get rid of that. And it's not all the text, obviously, but it's just some parts of the text free you up where you can actually talk about and analyze and say, hey, this is different, and this, teacher said this, and this was different or the same, and so it's mainly presenting all the data sources and you comparing those things. And then I think that will help you then later as you comment on that, it'll say, okay, because the teacher said this and the coordinator said this, I think this is, whatever. All right.
Thank you.
Alrighty, you're welcome. So if you need me to look at something for our next tutoring session, send me an email and I'll look at it. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, I told you about the due date, right? It
Yeah, I
changed.
changed them.
Okay, like a day earlier. So, all right. We'll see you, Luz.
Thank you.
Bye.